Alrighty, folks. Whew, today is going to be a very interesting day. Not sure how much I'm going to get done today, but this is going to be the beginning of hopefully one of the bigger final projects on this Jeep. Let's see. Got a small battery drain, so when I let this sit for a little while, battery goes dead. I hooked up a solar charger, like a little trickle charger, but that still doesn't supply enough to keep up with the drain, so I'll have to track that down eventually. But anyway, today's thing is a water leak, and from what I've figured out, it's from one of the only freeze plugs I haven't changed, and that would be underneath the car. So we've had a lot of rain, and they got all dry. So this spot right here is new. This is coolant, and it drips from the bell housing, and it only happens after you start the car. But there's a freeze plug behind the bell housing on the back of the engine, and I assume since my other freeze plugs went, that freeze plug also needs to be changed. So I'm gonna have to drop the transmission and the transfer case and the drive shafts and the exhaust and this center brace in order to change this 58-cent cap. So got myself a transmission jack. Back here, you can hold up to 800 pounds, and it's got left to right and forward backwards pivot bolts on them, and it's made specifically for lifting transmissions. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Before you guys tell me that I should check the obvious, I already did. There is a freeze plug on the back of the head, and sometimes that will drip. But I used a mirror back there, and it was nice and dry. I checked the head gasket. The head gasket was nice and dry, and the water, it looks like it's coming straight from the flywheel. So it would make a lot of sense that the freeze plug's back there. So yeah, that'll be interesting and a lot of work. But this will give me an excuse to change the transmission fluid and the transmission filter and the transmission mount if it needs a new mount. So yeah, that'll be fun. Step one was actually something that didn't really require any tools. I was just cleaning everything off, cleaning up the ground, getting all the mud out of the way. When I looked at the transmission, there's all kinds of sand and shit up there in the connections. So if you're ever working on a dirty vehicle, it definitely helps to clean beforehand, before you start to get everything apart and you get dirt all over yourself. So I tried to clean everything up just a little bit. Here we are underneath. Probably gonna be jumping all around. I'm gonna try and follow the manual as much as I can. So here's our bell housing, and here is that metal cover. This covers the flex plate. So there's a couple bolts. Bolt here with a nut. Bolt here, bolt and a nut. And then there's one more bolt up there, and then this cover will slide off. Starter motor has to come out, and this time I'm going to disconnect the cables so I can take the whole thing out. I have to mark the location of the flex plate to torque converter, because when you put them back together, they have to be realigned correctly. A lot of stuff will have to be realigned, like the drive shafts and everything. You have to make sure that they go back on the same way they came off. Okay, 2 18s and 2 13 millimeters later, and this shield will come right off. Still clean from when I last cleaned it. Okay, all right. So folks, right there is the flex plate, and I wonder if you can see it. I don't know if you can. But behind this giant fucking thing would be the torque converter. I don't know. I think it's that thing. Whatever. Okay, so we would have to mark the this flex plate and the torque converter behind it. We'd have to mark the positions to make sure that they go back together the same way. And then you would take out those bolts right here that connect them together. Before that, I'm going to disconnect the starter motor though. Alright, no more starter motor. So that just got 2 bolts, one in the front, one in the back. 14 millimeter and a 15 millimeter. So you can see a lot more of the flex plate there. And no, this is not a flywheel, this is a flex plate. Flywheel is on a manual transmission, and a flex plate is on an automatic transmission. Supposedly the flex plate will actually flex a little bit when it activates the torque converter. But that's the torque converter right there, that orange thing with the different size gears. At least from what I'm aware of. It might not be, maybe it's that thing back there. It looks like a really big donut, so it's probably the rearmost thing. I don't know. So I wonder if this cover comes off too. I don't know if that's connected to more parts. I think there's a bolt up top that holds that in. Back here. I think if I take that bolt out, then this cover will come off too, and we can see even more of the stuff. So I'll take that out just for fun. Oh, here's the starter motor. I did it right this time and disconnected the 2 wires and left the nuts on so I know where they are later. And here's the 2 bolts for that. Alright, let's bring you guys with an update. Let's see. I marked the flex plate and the torque converter, if that's the torque converter back there. I think it is though. I don't know how to take this off. There's a bolt up top, but like it seems to be like squeezed between the engine and the transmission. So I don't know if that comes off later or not. But anyway, the next step is to remove these bolts between the flex plate and the transmission. And obviously if you're going to try and use like a box and wrench or something and take them off, you're just going to turn the flex plate. So you're going to need impact, and this is my impact setup right here. I have the impact drill squeezed up there, and I have a little extension, and then I got my 15 millimeter socket on there. I just spray a little WD on there so it's got some lube, squeeze away, and it'll come off. And also it'll rain exhaust all over you. That was fun. But yeah. Then in order to rotate it, you just take a 1/4 inch wrench and put it on the crankshaft, which the harmonic balancer is connected to. And you're supposed to turn it in a clockwise motion only. And if you try to loosen it with a wrench, you'd be turning it counterclockwise. So, impact. Again, definitely the way to go. So I'm going to keep turning this and taking these off one at a time. Oops. Okay. And there it is. Oh, God. Requires a lot of upper arm strength to do this shit. And then I go over there, and I rotate that, and we continue. Yum! Alright, this is the step where you drain the transmission fluid. Alright, and then after that, we can start taking off the drive shafts. I think. I'll have to check some. Alright, that's all the fluid that'll come out. So that's a decent little amount. Stop dripping. So I'm going to put the bolt back in. And I guess I'll start on the drive shaft or something.